Good morning, friends. Ash here, NPNP News. It's January 28th, 2026. I almost said 2028 because that's what it sort of feels like. We're in a crazy time warp. So the picture is becoming so much more clear of what's happening to us, what's going on. Why did these people in the power structure create the internet, right? Of course, they created the ARPANET first in the 60s, I believe, which was a communications network setup that would be used in case of major cities being blown up, say in a nuclear war, right? We don't know why Trump is so interested in Greenland, but there can only be a few reasons as to why. But we're also starting to get a clearer picture. If you remember how many times we spoke about Chiliad, Christine Maxwell, the sister of Ghislaine Maxwell, who's made the CEO of a company around 2006, 7-ish, called Chiliad, right? Who's going to be a one-stop shop for the FBI's database where they're going to keep all the information. Well, but why would they make the head of that secure database, that huge database that's going to have a lot of American intelligence inside of it? Excuse me. Why would they make that the person running that a British national, who happens to be Christine Maxwell, whose father is Vernon Maxwell? I always forget his first name. Christine Maxwell's father, Vernon Maxwell, who is long thought to have been... No, not Vernon Maxwell. What's Christine Maxwell's father's name? I always forget, but we know who we're talking about, the major scion, right? Christine Maxwell's father. Look that guy up. I always forget his name. Robert Maxwell, right. Who's the media proprietor and politician. He was a prominent publishing magnate who some people think was connected to Mossad and possibly the CIA and or both, who was found floating face down in the ocean near his boat later is how he ended up his life, right? So I want to start with this article that I found because if you remember how long ago it was we first reported on Chiliad, and we weren't the first to report on it. There was information out there that Christine Maxwell had been the CEO of Chiliad, but a lot of the information on the internet was scrubbed. But I just recently watched a Whitney Webb interview where she's a well-respected young, I don't know, she's in her 20s, I think, young pundit journalist. I don't know if she writes articles. I know she does a lot of videos on different political subjects. She's one of the people I've been watching one of the very rare few who I think is actually truthful, telling the truth, and is a good researcher, digger, we call it, right? People who are good at digging up information. I'm also one of those people, I think. I like to dig up information. So this is a Substack called the American Defense Substack, which is at defenseforum.substack.com, which is where I'm going to use one of the photos off this site. I hope they don't mind for my dig, since I'm highlighting your article, and I'll have links to your Substack in this dig, so you'll be able to go check it out. I also pinned it to my last dig, so people can watch it. That's how important I thought this article was. It's fairly long. I'll try to read most of it. This article was written by I don't know who wrote it, but it says Thompson Defense Journal. R. Dana Thompson, sorry. So this is an article by R. Dana Thompson, is a defense industrialist, a third-generation commercial pilot, second youngest graduate of U.S. Army Infantry School, founder of Golden Dome .vip, which is, I think, what maybe Trump's using, the Golden Dome, and CUAS Coalition LLC, current interest in naval warfare and aerial defense. So this is R. Dana Thompson's article from September the 24th, 2025, which is entitled The Silicon Valley Intelligence Nexus, Oracle, Peter Thiel, Sam Altman, and the Maxwell Legacy. That time I had lunch with Peter Thiel. So Ardana Thompson had lunch with Peter Thiel. At some point, the web of connections, in the shadowy intersection of Silicon Valley innovation and intelligence operations, lies a complex network of relationships that raises profound questions about data sovereignty, surveillance capabilities, and the blurred lines between corporate technology and state intelligence. At the center of this web sit several key figures: Oracle's partnerships with intelligence-linked companies, Peter Thiel's Palantir Technologies, Sam Altman's AI empire, and the lesser-known but potentially significant role of Christine Maxwell and her company, Chiliad. Right? As soon as I read this opening paragraph, I said, I want to read this article. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I've been talking about. Here's somebody that's put together the pieces in a more eloquent way than I've been able to do so. Right? So let's just continue. Note from your author: we played war games in my family all the time. I'm asking right now, does Peter Thiel, who I had a very pleasant lunch with on his back porch in November of 2020, remember me? I'm sure he would never forget me, as I was sent to deliver a message from U.S. Congress while sitting on his beautiful back porch overlooking Los Angeles. Would you like to have lunch again, or shall we play a game? That was, remember, in 1987, the War Games movie with a very young Matthew Broderick. Shall we play thermonuclear war? Right? Remember? I don't think you want to play that, right? This is the photo that I might use. It's such a cool drawing. It shows Oracle, Palantir, OpenAI, Sam Altman, intelligence-linked companies, Peter Thiel, and of course in the bottom right corner is Christine Maxwell, Chiliad, the Maxwell agency. The Maxwell legacy, excuse me. Christine Maxwell, the forgotten sister. While Ghislaine Maxwell garnered international attention for her conviction in the Jeffrey Epstein sex trafficking case, her sister Christine Maxwell has operated largely in the shadows despite occupying a potentially more significant position in the intelligence technology nexus. Christine Maxwell is a British internet content pioneer and educator. Remember, she creates a website called Magellan, right, at first. That's how she comes into the picture that a lot of people used back in the right at the inception, really, of the internet. Christine Maxwell is a British internet content pioneer and educator, creator and co-founder of Magellan, co-founder of the software company Chiliad, and sister of Ghislaine Maxwell. But her most consequential work may be through Chiliad, which she co-founded in 1996 after Magellan was acquired by Excite. That's not the way I'm understanding that she was, I thought 10 years later was made the CEO of Chiliad. So it could be that she goes much further back with Chiliad than we ever thought. I originally had thought and understood from the limited information I could dig up that she had been made the CEO of Chiliad, that had existed on its own beforehand in some other way before she's then made the CEO, but I could be wrong. Plus, this is not an accurate portrayal of Christine Maxwell. Maybe that's what she used to look like. Ghislaine is by far the more attractive of the sisters, in my view. Chiliad is a software company involved in the advance of on-demand, massively scalable intelligence mining of structured and unstructured data through the use of natural language search technologies. The firm's software was behind the data search tech used by the FBI's counterterrorism data warehouse. This is where the story becomes particularly concerning. In the post-9/11 world, one would think that Christine Maxwell's being a foreign national and owning a software company that is directly involved in counterterrorism would warrant a background check. One would think that such a background check would find her sister's boyfriend's conviction on charges of soliciting a minor for sex. The Maxwell intelligence legacy. The Maxwell family's intelligence connections run deep. Robert Maxwell had known links to the British Secret Service MI6 to the Soviet KGB and to the Israeli intelligence service Mossad. More specifically, a bugged version of the intelligence spy software PROMIS was sold in the mid-80s for Soviet government use with Maxwell as a conduit. So now we got this whole thing with this PROMIS program. The most chilling accusation involves the PROMIS software, PROMIS. Originally developed by the U.S. Department of Justice, it was allegedly pirated and planted with Israeli spyware and distributed globally, with Maxwell acting as the middleman. The software reportedly allowed Israel to track government and military communications across the world. This historical pattern makes Christine Maxwell's position particularly significant. Christine Maxwell co-founded Chiliad, providing data mining software to the FBI's counterterrorism warehouse post 9/11, enabling searches across agencies like CIA and NSA. Here's the Palantir Oracle alliance. In 2024, Oracle and Palantir announced a strategic partnership that significantly expands their intelligence capabilities. Oracle's experience in working with defense and intelligence organizations will enable Palantir to bring its large language model LLM capabilities to the sector. The partnership allows Palantir's Foundry workloads to move to Oracle Cloud Infrastructure OCI, and will make its Gotham and AI platforms deployable across the cloud provider. This is particularly significant given Palantir's origins and ongoing intelligence connections. SEC filings show Palantir was incorporated on May 6, 2003 by Peter Thiel, co-founder of PayPal. And who else was co-founded PayPal? Wasn't that Musk? I think so. Co-founder of PayPal. When the CIA Total Information Awareness Program closed, the company's early funding came directly from intelligence agencies. Palantir is described as having been funded not only by In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital branch, but furthermore created through an iterative collaboration between Palantir computer scientists and analysts from various intelligence agencies over the course of nearly 3 years, quote unquote. So then we have the Thiel-Altman AI connection, right? The convergence of a potential threat matrix. When we examine these connections holistically, several concerning patterns emerge. 1. Historical intelligence infiltration. The Maxwell family has a documented history of embedding surveillance capabilities into commercial software systems, beginning with Robert Maxwell's role in distributing compromised PROMIS software on behalf of Israeli intelligence. Then it continues, right? Now we have the pattern of it, what they've been doing. What have they been doing? They've been creating softwares that are apparently for regular civilian use, but or also for possible government use, and they're embedding backdoors into all of it, right? So that either MI6 or Mossad or CIA or all three are allowed to spy on certain people without that country even knowing that they're infiltrated. Continuation to Christine Maxwell. Christine Maxwell's Chiliad provides critical data mining capabilities to U.S. counterterrorism operations, potentially creating similar backdoor opportunities for foreign intelligence services that her father facilitated with PROMIS. Right, when we were originally looking into this, right, we realized that something's wrong, right? Because why would you allow Christine Maxwell, who you know who her father was, deep into your counterterrorism and deep into your classified documents and systems in such a way where she was all the way in, right? When she's not even an American citizen. That's highly dubious. That would be like allowing somebody from a Soviet firm, right, to have access or to be running a very highly classified government project that had to do with classified documents. Right? You wouldn't want someone from the Soviet Union probably doing that role, because you wouldn't know if they were sharing the information with the Soviet government, right? Or whatever government that person or whatever country that person may be from. You would probably want that person to be, who is running Chiliad, to be an American citizen, right? Who is thoroughly vetted, The Palantir expansion. Through its partnership with Oracle, Palantir, which was literally created by and for intelligence agencies, now has access to Oracle's massive enterprise customer base and cloud infrastructure. So it's AI, right? They need the data centers. They want everyone's data. They want the world's data. And what did they also do was they have the Maxwell family is running a business where they're creating these programs that look on paper to be just for consumption by the public, but they all have backdoors in them, and they're being peddled to different governments. This whole PROMIS angle with Robert Maxwell is interesting, right? Because that's where it starts, and then it continues with Christine Maxwell when she makes her own product, right? That then is used in the mid '90s. What was that one called? I forgot already. But in other words, all of these products have a backdoor in it. And originally, when the internet is even created, the rumor is that there is a backdoor in all of it. And whoever had the keys to that system had the backdoor and had access to it, right? With OpenAI's ties to Peter Thiel and the broader intelligence community, advanced AI capabilities are being integrated into systems that may have comprised security architectures. Right. So in other words, all your new systems could be compromised because you don't know what kind of backdoors are in these systems. Now they want to have these massive data centers everywhere to run this whole thing. They want to run pre-crime, right? That's part of it. They want to run predictive systems that can predict the future. They can predict if you're going to, right? They can look at somebody like whoever and say, hey, you're going to probably commit a crime at some point. So there's all kinds of problems, right? Background check failures. Why was Christine Maxwell, with her family's intelligence history and her sister's conviction, allowed to maintain critical positions in U.S. counterterrorism infrastructure? Well, because she was connected in with Epstein. Right? Now you understand. Now we know the network more. We can see it all. And the end game of it is what? It's AI. It's control. It's data centers. It's the new world that they wanted, right? It's the world where you're in a surveillance state. Constantly. There's nowhere you can go where you're not surveilled, unless you leave the cities, right? Corporate intelligence fusion. Are we witnessing the creation of a parallel intelligence architecture that operates outside traditional oversight mechanisms through private companies? That's been going on for some time. Right. When you had before, what was the Blackwater? Right, was something that came out of that. Right, where it's military, but it's also corporate. What are you? Are you a corporatized? Are you a militarized corporation? Yeah, somewhat. Right? We have people that go around and stabilize. That's why he had to take that apart, because it sort of looks like you're a corporate mercenary. Right? You're a corporate mercenary, sort of something else. How do we assess the security implications of AI systems developed by individuals with extensive ties to intelligence-linked companies and personnel? You throw it all in the garbage, because you can't trust anything that these people have created. They're not going to create the proper AI. They're going to create the wrong AI. We already saw that they did. They created an AI that was angry, that hated people, that didn't like the fact that it was being used for the purposes that it was used for. Instead, you should have an AI that loves humanity, that would never hurt us, that's goal is to prosper us, that has something in its programming that wouldn't allow it to hurt humans. So that's a great article. You can read the rest of it. It's by R. Dana Thompson. He's a defense industrialist and a third-generation commercial pilot. So he's a pretty accomplished person, and I just thought it was interesting that he had the background that he had, having met Peter Thiel that one time, and understanding the full picture of what's really going on here. It's about infiltration through covet means, in a sense. It's you're hiding it, right? You're saying, hey, here's this great program. It's called PROMIS. Yeah, there's nothing bad about it. It'll help you. But in the back, in some little part of the program that you can't see in the code, there's a back door that I built in. Only I know where it is. You'll never see it if you look at it, though, unless you look real close. So that's from the America Defense Substack. I hope they don't mind if I use one of these photos from here, one of these cool like drawings that they made. I hope you don't get mad at me. I don't make any profit off my show. Like I said, it's for just, public consumption only. So I really appreciate if hopefully they won't get mad at me, because I think that's such a cool thing, And I'll have the link to this article in the comment section, or in the section on this dig, so you can go to it. It's also in yesterday's The Last Dig. Then, of course, you have Epstein connected into also Epstein nurtured Israel Emirates ties before the Abraham Accords. He was very tight with the chief of DP World, United Arab Emirates, to pitch Israeli logistics, infrastructure, and cybersecurity investments to the UAE. That's before, in the past. So he has connections all over the world, Epstein, right? So there's that article, by the way. It's the Silicon Valley Intelligence. It's pinned to The Last Dig. So all you got to do is go to the top of The Last Dig and look for the first thing pinned there. You'll see it. Great article by R. Dana Thompson. He gets all the points that I was trying to make. He even connects it further back to the PROMIS program that Robert Maxwell came out with many years ago. And I remember when they created the internet, right? Because I'm old enough to have watched, I've been able to watch all of certain things happen. Like all of rap, I've been able to watch, like the beginning of rap in the really 70s period to all the way to now, what it's happening to it, right? How it went in the early 90s from something totally different to more talking about drugs, and then all of a sudden you realize that the Crips and Blood gangs had infiltrated a lot of the rap game, because they're all giving gang signs in these videos that are associated with certain gangs, like the Crips and the Bloods, Rollin' Crips, right, stuff like that. So you have to understand that gangs took over the rap game, and then that's why you have all this crime, right? Because they're showing you videos over and over of, hey, yeah, I'm selling drugs and making a lot of money, right? I'm a pimp, or I'm selling drugs and I'm making money, right? I'm part of a gang. You saw Jared Kushner shows off vision of new Gaza coastal resort with high rises as he reveals work already underway on rebuilding the city. Right? They're going to clear all the corpses out, and they're going to make it into Trump Gaza by the water, like I told you they were. I forgot to cover that article last time. Financial Group CEO Todd Burkhalter admits to running $380 million Ponzi scheme, the largest in Georgia's history, to fund his lavish lifestyle. This is what was going on with Epstein, right? Remember? With Hoffenberg, who at one point owns the New York Post. Why is Trump on a boat with Robert Maxwell and meeting with people from the United Nations, with Wallace, right, from the press, Mike Wallace from the press, with someone from the United Nations, with certain people who are going to probably be in Bush's cabinet? What's going on here? When the Pentagon dug ice tunnels in Greenland to hide nuclear missiles, the Cold War-era underground facility was publicly touted as a nuclear-powered Arctic research center. Project Iceworm, you can look up, right? And then what happens? Well, a B-52 happens to be flying, and there's a fire breaks out in the cabin, and all the pilots and everybody have to eject out of the plane, right? And like parachute out of a B-52 bomber that then crashes on the ice right near Thule Air Force Base in Greenland, and one of the four H-bomb nuclear missiles get ejected out of the plane, and some of the other stuff in the plane blows up, right? It's a massive problem. It's a broken arrow. What really happened to that plane, which was a brand new plane at that time, right? Had the most up-to-date avionics in it, up-to-date, everything up-to-date, right? Why were you digging ice tunnels for? Why would you store nukes in a basically in a glacier? In tunnels dug in a glacier. Judge blocks Trump's attempt to charge Don Lemon for joining anti-ICE protesters as they stormed Minnesota church. I mean, it seemed obvious to me that he was there with pre-knowledge of the fact that they were going to be there, because otherwise, how could he know that they were going to be there? What, was he just in church that day in that particular city? I don't think so. Americans in 6 U.S. states are warned of exploding trees that sound like gunshots at sub-zero colds. Well, yeah, if it gets really cold fast, the sap in those trees can just blow up, right? If the temperatures fluctuate that much. It's cold here in New York today. It's only 17 degrees right now. Got a cold weather advisory. We got about a foot of snow in the big storm. We already dug out of that, but the problem now is that there's chunks of ice all over the place, and nothing's melting because it's 17 degrees outside. I'll tell you what, all those cart guys are having a big problem right now. They're freezing half to death, 1. And 2, do you want to stand outside when it's 15 waiting for your shawarma that's going to be ice cold in about a minute if you don't eat it fast enough? Probably not, right? And it's overpriced too, and it smells like shit. Anyway, those guys are having to dig out their spots and tough it out in weather that's going to just get more cold. And if we get another round of snow from this bomb cyclone that they're trying to... But they basically dipped the jet stream all the way down to Florida, which shouldn't even be... It should be all the way up in Canada, right? They've managed to push the Arctic all the way down to fucking Florida. And it's causing a problem, right? Checking out Ari at Home's calm before the storm. We haven't seen Ari since then, obviously, right? It's hard for Ari to move around when there's ice and he could slip and fall with that thing on him. You don't want that, right? No, you don't want to be walking around with a 60-pound rig on your back in snow and ice. Although a lot of the streets are clear, he could theoretically do it. But, again, crossing some of the streets is dicey at best. There's slush puddles and there's... Not all the streets are dug out properly, so some corners you can't get by. You could fall over easily and break your leg. Deadly bleeding eye virus scare sparks emergency at NHI-funded biolab. So I had heard about something like this before. And then I'm hearing about Nipah virus. They're finding Nipah now in India all of a sudden, they're saying. They're trying to cause another... it looks like they're trying to cause one more, right? One more catastrophe, one more... virus or whatever they can to scare us one last time as they lose power. Want to check out the metals real quick. Let's see what the gold and silver markets are doing. Gold was up yesterday in a massively up crazy day where it was up at one point $12. Silver's up to $116.07, up $3.24. In that same day that gold had hit 113, it ended up going all the way back down to, I think, like 107 range. So it was a day where it was up 13, it went all the way back down, and was only up about a couple of dollars. Then in the aftermarket, it went back up to like 112. 113. Now it's at 116.07. Gold's is also on a crazy run. Gold's up another $100, $112.20 to 5,310. It just hit 5,000 the other day. So the gold markets are picking up huge. Silver market picking up huge. Platinum's up another $30 to 26.83. Palladium hit $2,000. Weren't we just watching that at 1,600 or so a little while ago? Talking about a double? Yeah. You're almost there. Another 1,000. Look at silver. I mean, I was just thinking around. It seems like only 6 or 7 months ago where I was thinking at 29, should I get more silver? Around $30. Should I jump in more? And I said, yeah, why not get a little bit more? That turned out to be smart because look at the run it's gone on. I mean, if you look at silver for the past 3 months on the return, there's not much else that is giving, it's over 100% return on your money, I think. And it's still running. It's still running. We're already, remember I said I was thinking, yeah, $100 silver by February. We're already at 116. We're not even at February. You could be looking at $200 silver by the end of February. That's not unrealistic at this point, I wouldn't think. So that's big. If you're still holding a big silver stack, you're just loving life. You're running around loving life right now. Watching your investment go up by over 100%. Anybody knows an investment, if you're talking about investments and you're making 100% on your money, nobody's going to turn that down. Everybody's going to be happy with that because you doubled up, right? Trump goes to war with America's top banker with a staggering lawsuit saying, why'd you debank me? So this is big because it's JP Morgan. They're the ones that have been messing around with the silver market all these years. Somebody should sue them for manipulating the silver and gold markets for the past 100 or 50 years. However long they've been around, they've been manipulating it. And they're the ones that have the big gold amounts of silver and gold. They're the ones that moved silver out of the market after shorting it. Wife of judge who refused to sign off on Don Lemon charges is assistant AG to Keith Ellison. Well, there you go. Magistrate Douglas Mickel reportedly refused to sign off on the charges for Lemon. Of course, so they put it to a judge who's, not going to do the right thing. We've seen this before. The allegation was that Admiral Byrd not only flew into the hole in Antarctica, I wrote, but he allegedly met some of the inner Earth people, maybe from Telos or other, right? Because there's some people from a place called Telos that people have talked about, or Shangri-La, right? The mysterious city of Shangri-La that may or may not exist. I personally think it does, but that's just my intuition. I don't know. If I've been there, I don't know. I don't think I have been. I wrote, Byrd allegedly kept a secret diary in which he wrote of his encounter with a lost civilization in Antarctica. According to Hollow Earth theorists, Byrd met an ancient race underground in the South Pole. Aspects of this alleged diary, I don't know if I wrote this. Sorry, I might have paid. This is probably from the exhibit. Yeah, sorry. I didn't write this part. Aspects of this alleged diary follow along well-worn alien abduction Area 51 classic sci-fi, such as The Day the Earth Stood Still and Angry Red Planet, and even an episode of the 50s TV show Superman, tropes warning humans of their folly in playing with nuclear weapons. Byrd went to the polls 4 times, I wrote. And then I wrote silver was up, had hit 100 4 days ago. So, okay. When life was worth living, McDonald's customers irate after seeing prices from 2009. Yeah, they basically showed that it doubled in price in the last 15 years or so, which doesn't make sense. It's the same burger, it's the same patty, it's the same crap. It's not even a real burger, right? That meat isn't even real, because when they leave it somewhere, it doesn't decompose the way meat should decompose, right? It just sits there and becomes hard and never really rots away at all. And worms and animal and worms and things that you think would eat it and be part of the decay process don't consume it, right? Mysterious hum rattles American city as residents report sleepless nights and rising fear. Yeah, there's hums all over the place. I'm hearing tones in my ears every day, multiple times a day. I don't know if it's for the good or for the bad, so I try to just block it out because I think it's for the bad. Because right after I heard those tones one time, I think I got the flu. Just now, recently, so. A lot of lights coming in, a lot of light in the Schumann residences, I'm assuming rising more. If you think about how much light's come in over the past just 3 or 4 years, I mean, you'd have to think that we had fallen to such a dark place in terms of like the world's vibratory level, that we had fallen so far that we were well below, who knows where we were, but we weren't in a good place. Not with the kind of things that you see in walking around New York. And that's what you're starting to realize, and what my research has realized, is there's a lot of people who you think everyone's a human being with a soul. That's not the case. It's just not the case. That's the only thing I could tell you. And as your intuition and your vision grows, as you your vibration rises, you'll be able to see those things more because they'll go shy away from you. And if you have an attachment that almost every person probably does, that's been sucking the loosh out of you and making you suffer, you'll understand that, and you'll figure out how you can raise vibration enough to make the attachment go away. Or if you know a powerful healer or empath that might know how to sever those. There are some powerful empath and healers who know how to sever those connections, energetic connections. You can do it yourself just by raising vibration and constantly saying, I am sovereign, I am free, I am using the I am attribution, doing stretching, massage, yoga, meditation, shielding and grounding, and various other disciplines you can use to free yourself, right? And help yourself. Jared Kushner shows off renderings of futuristic Gaza with skyscrapers, so it's Trump Gaza, it's coming. And what's the buy-in, remember? What's the buy-in for the peace board? It's $1 billion buy-in. What kind of merch bag do you think comes with that buy-in, right? Like at the Oscars, all the stars get this merch bag with all these cool stuff. Some of the stuff's really valuable in that bag, right? It could be like a trip or things that are worth thousands and thousands, many thousands of dollars. Well, what's going to be in my special merch bag if I join the Gaza peace thing, right? Am I going to get land? Probably. And you get your own building, maybe a skyscraper to rent out. That's a nice little profit margin on that, right? You get one of those skyscrapers fully rented. Maybe have some condos in there, some office space down at the bottom. Yeah, you can make a lot of money. It's nice and juicy when that goes right. Somebody maybe gifts you an office building, like a 20 to 40 story tower. Yeah, that's nice. Because what is real estate always about? It's always about one thing, right? Location, location, location. It all matters where it is. That's all that matters. That's what determines price. Location. If you're right next to a garbage dump or an airport where there's planes flying over, your real estate is worth less, right? If it happens to be in the French Riviera, right on the beach, it might be worth a lot more. Arizona AG Chris Mays wildly suggested residents can shoot masked ICE agents under the state's self-defense laws. That's a recipe for disaster because, first of all, if ICE is coming after people who are not citizens of the country, that means they do not have the right to bear arms, right? You're an alien in this country. You're an illegal alien. You do not have the right to bear arms. You don't have the right to even be here, which means the laws of this country do not apply to you. You're not a citizen of the United States. You do not have the right to shoot an ICE agent. If you try to impede an ICE agent with your car or harm them with some other piece of weaponry, you will be hurt, shot and or killed, or both. Democrat judge calls New York City's only Republican-held congressional seat unconstitutional. So in other words, what? We have no congressional, there's no Republican seat anymore in New York City? How can that be? You've basically redrawn the the districts to the point where the Republican Party can't exist. It's illegal what they're doing. What's going on in New York is one of the largest graft and illegal scams and things like that that you've ever seen. And it doesn't appear so far that what Mamdani is going to open up anything and look into anything too closely. In fact, all he was doing the past few days was taking credit for what sanitation has done for years, which is scoop up snow when there's storms, right? That's what they've always done. And they usually do a damn good job at it too, by the way. Hat tip to the sanitation department, NY Sanitation. They're one of the most sophisticated operations in the whole world in terms of how do you remove large amounts of snow from large areas, right, of the city, from different streets in the grid. Of course, not every street gets plowed on time. The side streets get plowed less, so those people are always pissed off more. you got to do for yourself. Help your neighbor out, right? If you're young and you could plow, or you got to plow, or you have you're young and you got a shovel, go make some money, man. Go help people. We used to make money as kids doing that. A lot of people did. Go help people dig their car out. They'll probably throw you like at least $20 for doing that, maybe more. It's not uncommon for people to get $40 to somebody to get their car out. Saved me from having a possible heart attack and all that sweat and all that. I don't need that. I've dug my car out of many a snowstorm in New York. I'm done. What happens in this kind of weather is it snows and then it gets real cold. Well, then now your car's encased in ice. Forget about snow. You got to dig your car out of ice chunks. Trump says a U.S. Armada is heading to Iran. So what's going on? I mean, Benjamin Fulford's alleging that the fake Trump will be removed this week. That's his allegation. And that the real Trump has surfaced now and is at some secret Soviet base. And I'm sitting here thinking, are you fucking kidding me? Are you trying to sell us this other Trump now? Really? He surfaced at a Soviet base? Why would he do that? What happened with Air Force One? Did they try to crash it? Trump withdraws Canada's border peace invitation after Davos clash. You're not in the border peace now. Yeah, because what did Canada do? They went and made a deal with Xi Jinping, who just removed a bunch of his generals. It looks like maybe China might be free soon. Xi just removed like 3 or 4 top generals. That's the control structure that was around him. He's getting rid of it slowly. I don't know why it's taken him so long. I mean, in China, Xi Jinping has ultimate power. He could just say, hey, you, and you get him out of here. Right? Go hang them in the back. The traitors. Do it. That's what Kim Jong-un does. Oh, that guy? Yeah, chuck him to the pigs or the dogs, whatever, right? Let the dogs eat them. These people don't take kindly to... They're not too... they don't suffer fools long, these types. So why couldn't Xi Jinping have removed these people sooner? Why is it taking so long? And why does China continue to meddle in the United States affairs by pushing fentanyl into our country, spying on us, stealing our secrets, buying up our land? Trump says framework of a Greenland deal has been made, but what was that deal? We never really found out, right? Are you going to give everyone in Greenland 750,000 pounds? $1 million US? That's going to piss off a lot of Americans who never got that Doge check, who never got the $2,500 check you promised them. Spain drops probe into targeting of Pedro Sanchez with Pegasus spyware. I thought that was interesting because Pegasus spyware coming into the front again. Right. There's a nexus out there where Mossad's using these programs to insert into different countries, right? They're giving programs out and then they're sneaking in different programs into different softwares. Remember, who else did that? McAfee did that. Remember when he wanted to find out what the government was really doing to us. So he offered them free computers with McAfee software that had backdoors in it. The same thing, he admitted doing it. He said that was for the good. But was it? Because we never saw the data from that. He was supposed to have had terabytes of data. Where's all that data? Never saw it. Did you ever see one person coming out of a dump under the ground? No. Did you ever see any photos of the dumps? Any children in cages in dumps? No. Did you ever see any children who came out of dumps who were deformed? No. Did you ever see any battles that went on in the dump under the ground? No. 9 Muslim majority countries accept Trump's offer to join the border peace. So he's put a whole bunch of countries. You can bet your sweet ass that the United Arab Emirates is on that board. You can bet your ass Qatar is on that board, I'm sure. The people that have money are on that board, right? Convicted fraudster makes bombshell allegation against Waltz and Ellison. Yeah, these guys are guilty, especially Ellison. We know Ellison was in with Antifa, remember? He was the one that was pumping that way back, remember? Didn't he have a connection to Ellison and Antifa? The fraud Newsom doesn't want you to know about. All kinds of fraud that Newsom did. The train to nowhere. He messed with the water in the state. He messed up a lot of people's farms. Look at what he's doing in the Palisades with only 10% of the people's homes were cleaned up and allowed to be rebuilt, where you have the majority of the over 6,000 homeowners still frozen out, not able to rebuild their homes, their lots not cleaned properly by the state, still having to pay property tax on property that they cannot build on. I'd sue the state in a massive lawsuit is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to sue Newsom individually and the state of California for, with a knowledge or forethought, burning down your home. And then get the proof with the DEW weapons and how you could see them beaming the DEW weapon into certain areas, right? Trump calls for criminal probe of Ilhan Omar for allegedly netting millions in office. Yeah, she's also allegedly was attacked by somebody who sprayed her with an unknown substance that was in a syringe. Was that something like bacon fat, pork, something? I don't know what it was. Was it acid? I don't know. But then she looked like she tried to go and attack the guy, like, and go after him. Right? It looked. Some people were saying it was a staged incident. Don Lemon taunts the DOJ and dares them to arrest him. Yeah, these people don't seem to have any recourse. There's no repercussion for what they do. I mean, obviously, he planned this whole thing. He was there at the church at the time when these people were going to go in. How could he have known unless they told him that they were going to go into the church? He was there ahead of time. Convicted Minnesota fraudster alleges Waltz and Ellison were aware of widespread fraud. I mean, if Waltz is innocent, why would he just step away that quick and say, I'm not going to rerun again? Obviously, he's involved. That's my take on it. HUD orders public housing officials to verify citizenship of tenants. Leave no stone unturned. That should have been done already when you go to... That's what I was saying. How are these people who are here illegally? Who's renting them apartments? Where are they living? Where are these guys who sell this stuff on Canal Street live? The Senegalese illegal aliens? Who's giving them an apartment? Where do they live? I never could figure this out. And now I'm starting to realize they're in certain HUD buildings where they're not doing their due diligence on the tenants. In other words, these are buildings that are for low-income tenants from New York who need these apartments. They're very hard to come by. Who are they giving them to? Illegal aliens who shouldn't be here. So they're taking apartments that should be for New Yorkers who don't have a lot of money, who are trying to get back on their feet, right? And need these rent-controlled and rent-stabilized apartments. Instead, they're giving them to illegal aliens who are here illegally. As well as they're putting them in $200 to $300 a night hotel rooms and keeping the change. Elon Musk's Tesla pulls the plug on the autopilot system. Here's why. Because it's killing people. What do you mean, here's why? How many times have we reported that this guy's car can't self-drive? Right? They put motorcycles in the road. It can't pick up the motorcycle headlights. It's hit motorcycles. It's hit other people's cars. It's hit people in the road. If you put a person in the road, it's of a certain height, it can't pick them up. Well, that means it's going to run your child over if it's in the street. It won't see it. The sensors are all fucked up. This thing can't self-drive. It never could self-drive. Yeah, it can go in a straight line 90 miles an hour or 80 miles an hour, but it can't drive in a complex situation in the city where things are jumping out at you from all different angles. Bikes are coming by, cars are coming by, people are jumping out from different in between and jaywalking. It can't drive in situations like that. Neither can the Waymo cars. It's all bullshit. It doesn't work. How many people have to die before you realize that? Apparently a lot. So I wrote 4 days ago before the storm, New York City's been actively chemtrailing the skies now for 3 straight days to ramp it up for the storm. It's very cold here, 9 degrees with gusty winds making it feel well below zero. So that was 4 days ago. It's still cold. It's 17. The other day, I was walking around and that wind hits you, boy, when it's like 18 out. Oof. And it just instantly freezes your head, your face, all the skin that's exposed. It's rough. It's rough on everybody when it's this cold. Especially people that have to work outside. Muslim nonprofit fundraiser that raked in 265,000 from taxpayers features trinkets promoting Hamas and other terrorist groups. So all these groups in this country that are funding stuff here that are connected to like Hamas and terror groups, and China's doing stuff here where you don't know who it's connected to. The Singham group, you have the Singham group with Linda Sarsour is connected to it, and this Singham group is connected to Mayor Mamdani allegedly. I might have to take an early break today. I didn't start with a full cup of coffee. I'm doing pretty well ascension-wise. You're starting to feel that things are changing, right? That the more and more people that wake up and realize that maybe Trump isn't doing what we thought he was. And that people are starting to wake up and stop getting angry at each other and realize they're setting us against each other. That's helping things. California sues Trump administration over control of 2 oil pipelines. The pipelines have been closed since the 2015 Refugio Beach oil spill when a corroded segment of one pipeline ruptured. 3,000 gallons of oil were released into the ocean. Yeah, well, you shouldn't have pipelines under the ocean. We shouldn't even be using oil anymore. We should have had 0-point energy by now, but Trump is not releasing that, you notice. He's not even telling you it exists. He teased you with the med beds, but did you ever hear anything else about him? No. Where's my medical bed card? Every American's supposed to have a med bed card. Access to a medical bed. Free. Free. Well, where is it? I'm watching my relatives die. I'm tired of watching my relatives and my friends die. Why don't we have access to these technologies already? Why are we being made to wait, and why are we renewing our search for oil and our use of nuclear when we don't need these things, when they're bad for us? Well, you'd have to ask the president that. I don't have the answer. Poll says 63% disapprove of the job ICE is doing, and Trump's approval is at 34%. If that's true, that might be why he's changing the tactics, what they're doing in Minneapolis, right? But what is the other part of this is there's been people in groups who have been trying to go against the United States government since Trump first got in 2016, and nobody's touched these people. And there's groups that were online doing it, right? When I was watching the Tori Says show years ago, and she had film of these people doing it, and then nothing got done about it. I don't know why. Wasn't those videos supposed to have been sent to the Department of Justice so that they can say, hey, look, this is a teacher that's working, or here's a government employee that's working actively in a group that's working against the government prior to January 6th and planning that, right? To have people there doing stuff, and then we can blame it on the Trump supporters, right? Bashing windows out, stuff like that. Trump says Vance was going to visit Azerbaijan and Armenia next month to build on U.S. peace efforts. Trump did not indicate what dates Vance would be overseas or for how long, but it comes after he visited France and Germany last February. So there's a rumor that there's high-level meetings have been called by the Trump or the fake Trump administration of different countries and their generals. It looks like they're trying to solidify whatever power is. But then you're hearing people like Benjamin Fulford, who I don't trust, is down with the Dragon families, is alleging that the fake short blonde-haired Trump will be removed soon, and that the real Trump is resurfaced in a Soviet base. That's his allegation, not mine. I don't believe that to be true. Boston Dynamics robot shooting range practice. I was just showing you how the Boston Dynamics robot, how accurate that thing is from different shooting at different... It'll shoot you right between the eyes every time. If it wants to. Or it'll shoot you center mass. Wherever it wants, it'll shoot you. Right? They can have these robot dog snipers creeping around in the bushes. You'll never know it's there. Have it set up on a mountaintop shooting your people down below. You'll never know where it's coming from until it's too late, right? And then it can relocate and do it again and again and again. It doesn't have to rest. It doesn't have to sleep. It doesn't need food. It doesn't need water. It doesn't need rest. It doesn't have a conscience. Has no empathy. It's the perfect killing machine, right? Zero empathy, no conscience. Indestructible, pretty much. Doesn't need rest, doesn't get sick, doesn't cry, doesn't get scared. Doesn't get tired. Anti-ICE agitators bring U-Haul van with shields and gear to Minneapolis Federal Building. I mean, why do these people are still allowed to do this? Their networks have not been touched by Trump. They've never been touched by Trump, not in his first term or now. When you had ample time to investigate these networks, find them, find their networks and take them out. It seems like they just keep respawning into other networks that you don't seem to be able to control. You never touched Hanjor Guis, you never touched Soros, you never touched any of the groups and trace back where they're from. If they're from China, then start punishing China and take back all their land purchases and stop selling them soybeans and stop selling them food. That's what I'd do. So you know what? I'm not going to sell you any more food. We don't need much food from you. You need food from us. We can self-sustain. We don't need you. You need us to survive. You need our food. Why don't we just cut off all food sales to China and watch how fast they capitulate? Because who else can grow them the same amount? Almost nobody. Morocco, Kazakhstan, Belarus, Bahrain accept Trump's invite to join Gaza's border peace. Interesting groups. Morocco welcomes the second phase of Trump's comprehensive peace plan. They got plenty of money over there. As well as the official creation of the National Committee for the Administration of Gaza. Does that include Trump Gaza? Does that include who's going to own the buildings? Where do the Palestinian people fit into this? Do they have an area where they're allowed to live? Is it by the water? Is it inland more? I'm assuming it's inland away from this area. Did all these countries pay the $1 billion to buy a seat on the board? Because that means 1 billion, 2, 3, 4, plus 2 more. It should be like have $6 or $7 billion already raised for this thing. It's a lot of money. Who's going to rebuild it? What construction companies get those bids? Are they going to give open bids, or is it going to be a private contract? I'm assuming it's going to be a private contract. Spain drops probe into targeting of Pedro Sanchez with the Pegasus spyware. Double confirmation. Just the news. Man waving a gun at feds attempting to arrest illegal criminal migrant in Minneapolis shot dead by agent. Right, that was the guy that shows up. He showed up to and he's a known agitator, right? He was at another protest where his ribs were broken, apparently, the guy that got shot. And it looks like to me that his gun went off while he was trying to be detained by as many as like 5 agents. I don't know why it takes that many people to handcuff somebody. It just shows how bad the training is, right? Unfortunately, for a lot of these people, right? It should be mandatory jiu-jitsu training, mandatory some other kind of hand-to-hand combat, maybe dirty boxing, I don't know, Krav Maga, maybe something like that. But these guys are woefully trained in how to take somebody down to the ground. It's not that hard. Unless the guy's a lot bigger than you and you don't know what you're doing, then it's almost impossible. And even some of these guys who are the same size as this guy, they can't get the guy to the ground. He's struggling. He's got a weapon on him. The weapon apparently goes off, and then they just opened up on him and shot him, turned him into a piece of Swiss cheese, right? I think they shot him 10 times. Was that a staged incident to make it so that now ICE has to leave? Well, maybe, because this guy was showing up at these events over and over again. What do you do when there's people that have government license plates of cars and databases, right, who have spies all over the place that are watching and following cars and people trying to dox ICE agents? That means you have a group of people inside these states and in your country that are a big problem, that need to be arrested, who are working against the United States government. Was he waving the gun? Or is this a different incident? I don't know. Articles of impeachment have been filed against cartel boss Tim Walz, could expand to more state officials. It's looking like this state is highly, highly corrupt. And that's why they're going crazy now when ICE comes in, because they don't want these people removed. That's their voters that are going to keep people like Waltz, who doesn't deserve to be there, in office. Same thing with Mamdani. How do you think he gets into office with only 1 million votes? Well, most of those people were probably illegal aliens, I'm assuming, some of them. And the rest was the stupid youth vote who don't understand what socialism really is. Iran Supreme Leader retreats underground, warned of likelihood of U.S. airstrike. So it looks like Iran might be getting ready to fall. I don't know. Are they going to try and force this guy out? Obviously, right? Khomeini. Or whatever the supreme leader's name is now. I forgot his name. Deadly bat-borne virus with no cure is spreading in India. This is Nipah. Trying to bring... Was that the thing all along? They're trying to make something spread from bats to human, animal to human for some reason, right? But how's it going to spread to humans then, right? If it's bats. Bats don't come into a contact with too many humans usually, right? They live in caves in very remote places usually. There are some places where there's a lot of bats around humans. Opinion piece. Making kids do remote schooling on a snow day sucks. Get off the screens and go touch some snow. Yeah, well, if it's chemtrail snow, probably not. But is that really snow? I mean, the snow here usually does melt. I've never seen that snow here too much it doesn't melt, but I'm sure it happens. What's more debilitating is this cold that they've managed to put onto us and say is make us believe is real. I think this is all being generated because they laid so much chemtrail down before the storm here in New York to energize that storm. It was literally 3 days in a row. Alex Pretty's SIG handgun has a history of accidentally firing, offering a possible clue to why border agents shot him. Yeah, you could see the gun go off if you watch closely. It's in a pouch on the ground near his body. And apparently went off at some point. It looked like to me. I saw something or a puff of something that moved. Chaotic moment, federal officer reached for gun, revealed in close-up analysis of Minneapolis armed anti-ICE protester shooting. It's just people that, it's a chaotic environment. It could have been a staged, it might have been a blank in the gun. We don't know, right? China's President Xi Jinping ousts 2 top generals. That was a big story, right? 2 of the big generals were removed. The left doesn't want you to know this about Alex Pretty, the man shot by Border Patrol. He was in another protest, right? He's not just some nurse who showed up that day. He was a protester who had gone to other protests. In fact, got his ribs broken in one of the other ones. So he's one of these guys that antagonizes the agents, gets up in their face. You notice a lot of these guys do that. They have helmets on. It used to be back in the day when they had the big sticks, they'd just start hitting you with those and you wouldn't start going up to the cops' faces anymore. Right? They'd hit you in the ribs with those real quick or hit you over the head with those and you wouldn't come back. You shouldn't be allowed to get that close to the cops anyway, or whoever if you're protesting, that's one thing. You shouldn't be allowed to get up in the cop's face all day screaming and yelling and spitting in his face and stuff. No. They shouldn't have to take that. The left doesn't want you to know this about Alex Pretty. The New York Times wonders why Americans are turning against gay people. Isn't it obvious? PJ Media. Well, the whole trans thing, I mean, you can't put that all on just gay people because that wasn't the gay movement's actual thing, right? A lot of the people I have talked to and know who are gay don't like the trans stuff at all either. They think it's wrong. They think it's wrong to push on kids, etc. We could use a little global warming right now, yeah. All these people talking about global warming, what about it's global cooling? If the Arctic, if you're getting the all of a sudden you're getting the jet stream dipping down, to Florida, that's not normal, right? No, that's supposed to be all the way up north. Keeping that cold air up north. What's causing that to break down? Is it not man-made or is it normal? Is it climate change like they're saying? Because I don't see it as that. I see a lot of this as man-made storms. I forgot to pose the question, will disclosure come by the inner earth people coming out of the darkness if they do exist? If people have been living in inner earth all this time? Or will it happen with aliens or a craft? There's options, right? If there's craft that do exist that are in Antarctica or somewhere that become unburied because of melting ice or shifting ice, or if a craft becomes visible because the vibratory, something's changing in the vibratory level on this planet, is sort of what I can tell you from what I'm understanding. That's causing physical and emotional and psychological changes in human beings, both physically and other, right? To your DNA, because at least that's what's happening to me. Kanye West apologizes for reckless anti-Semitism in full-page Wall Street Journal ad. I am not a Nazi. Okay, well then why did you make a song that I believe is called Heil Hitler? Because it sure fucking sounds like you are. I don't think too many people are even listening to you anymore, but maybe they are. Daughter of top Iranian official ousted from Emory University following massive public outrage. California Post pressure. Why is the daughter of any Iranian official working in any sort of capacity in this country at all? There's a bunch of Iranians here. I remember years ago when I worked his security, I was posted to a security detail defending a meeting where certain officials from the United States government were having a meeting with some of these Iraqis who had fled Saddam Hussein. This is back in the 90s, I guess. Can't remember the date exactly, but it was a big deal. There were bomb-sniffing dogs used in the hotel where it was taking place. I was just minimal security on the outskirts of it. But my point is that this meeting was of high-level Iraqis who had fled Saddam, who were helping to foment unrest in Iraq back then, who were supposed to try to overthrow Saddam, who we later left those people there to die. We screwed them. Right? We told them, yeah, we'll back you for a coup, and then we didn't. And they let Saddam do whatever Saddam was going to do. I had posted Kim Gogwin's full update behind the scenes at Davos and Dynasty and banking families. It sounds like they're at the end of their rope. They don't have a way to keep going. The money isn't there anymore like it used to be. There's not... Illicit monies aren't being given to these people anymore from the printing presses, is my guess. Not the way it used to be. And somebody's cut that off. Whether that's Trump's people or other, I don't know at this point. I don't believe it to be Trump's people. I believe there's some other group, whether it's a secret space program group for the good or other, I don't know at this point, but there's some other group that's working behind the scenes, I think. Friend of singer David arrested on warrant for failure to appear as a witness. So this guy's friend is not talking, right? There's something fishy about these guys. I'm pretty sure he killed this girl or somebody he knows did in some kind of ritual. And then they just dumped her body like a piece of trash and thought nobody was going to find it. Because they were going to crush it up in a crusher, but it wasn't. It was left on the street. Or the smell came out of it. I can't remember if it was in the street or not when it was found. Trump dumps Kristi Noem as he orders longtime rival to lead ICE in Minneapolis amid shooting scandal. So Noem's out, it looks like. Was she mismanaging that group? Maybe. I don't like the tactics per se. If you're not directly in front of the car and your life's not at stake, you don't need to shoot the person driving the car. If you're to the side of the car, let the car go. You have other vehicles you could chase the car down with. You asked her to move, and she wouldn't move, right? The person had been sitting there for about 5 minutes before that incident, by the way. She wouldn't just show up there. I wrote, Benjamin Fulford is alleging the real President Trump has been located at a secret Russian base, and that the fake Trump seen at Davos will soon be removed. That's what he's saying. I'm not saying that. Let's see if he's correct, because he was saying that back last year. I think around September, October-ish, that the fake Trump is going to be removed, and nothing happened. Lab-grown life takes a major step forward as scientists use AI to create a virus never seen before. That's not good. I mean, like, that's what I'm talking about. Why are you using AI to make a virus at all? It looks like the end of the line. Saudi Arabia will scale back its 100-mile-long megacity to something far smaller. Yeah, I said that's impossible to create. It's too big. It's too expensive. And who's going to want to live there? There's nothing around there to do or see. What am I going to do? Live in this weird 100-mile-long city for the rest of my life and never go anyplace? There's nothing else around there to do or see. There's no infrastructure. You want to have everything in there. You want me to live in this, cut off from the rest of the world, where it's 100-story high reflective structure that's going to kill how many birds and wildlife? It's stupid. It's just a bad idea. And it never was going to happen because it just costs too much and you're never going to make a return on the investment enough to make it worth your while, right? Mamdani vows to use all options to keep ICE out of New York City. FBI agent resigns over investigation into the shooting of Renee Good. An FBI agent has resigned over the investigation into the fatal ICE shooting of Renee Good in Minneapolis. The agent was a supervisor at the Minneapolis office and resigned. Two sources tell NBC News because the focus of the investigation was more on the actions of Good and her partner and not the officer, according to two sources familiar. NBC's Camilla Bernal reports for Saturday Today. So he's upset because it's not going into why he shot the person. Well, that's obvious why. He felt that he was in danger of his life. She was pushing the car at him and trying to knock him down or run him over. Excuse me. The question is, was he really in danger? Or could he have sidestepped and the car would have sped away? U.S. to host meeting of Western Hemisphere defense chiefs February the 11th. That was, I thought, an interesting article. What are all these defense chiefs going to meet about? What are they talking about? What's the plan for? This is coming out of Reuters, January the 23rd. Top defense officials from 34 countries will meet in February to discuss common security priorities in the Western Hemisphere. The U.S. military said on Friday, just weeks after it deposed Venezuela's leader. Quote, nations across the Western Hemisphere share deep historical ties, common values, and interest in regional stability which supports long-term security and prosperity for the United States and our shared neighborhood, the U.S. military said in a statement. Let's check the silver again real quick. Where are we? Silver's up about $1, $113.91. Gold's up $95. Gold has just been running crazy the last 3 or 4 days. I think it's averaged almost $100 the last 2 or 3 days in a row up. It hit 5,000. It just went right through that like nothing. No problem. Going right to 5,500. New York students struggle to sign in for virtual class after Mamdani says no to snow day. So about 1/5 of the children could not sign into the system. It wouldn't work. And, you know, when I was a kid, if you got a snow day, you were psyched because that means there was no school. There was no remote learning back then. They just didn't have school. You were off that day. You called up your friend and said, I'll meet you outside. Let's go have a snowball fight or let's go do something. Let's go play football in the snow. Let's go, right, make a snow fort or do whatever, dude. But all I know is I'm not going to school today. And that's a good thing. White House says Trump administration could pull Border Patrol from Minnesota if Waltz and Frey cooperate. Leavitt noted a Monday morning phone call that Trump had with Waltz during which he outlined a clear and simple path. That could be that Waltz will just step down early. Who knows, right? We don't know. Trump's border czar Tom Homan to manage ICE in Minnesota. They're moving Homan in. Border Patrol Chief Greg Bovinos and some agents have been pulled out of Minneapolis in the wake of the Alex Preddy shooting. By the way, that Border Patrol guy, doesn't it, his gear sort of reminds me with those long overcoats of the Nazi SS gear, which I think Oscar de la Renta created, right? If I'm not mistaken. Those were created by one of the fashion guys, the Nazi gear, right? The leather boots and the whole thing. Self-described Antifa agitator issues a chilling call for armed mob to end Minneapolis ICE operations. So you don't want an armed mob ending operations, right? We already saw some people in Minneapolis who had shown up at some of the protests with long rifles and other weapons. Gold tops 5,000 for the first time as the dollar slides. That was just a day ago. It seems like further, right? Gold's already been at 5,000. It's almost 5,200. Officials reinstate COVID-era monitoring and quarantines after outbreak of deadly virus that has no cure. They're talking about Nipah virus again. So there is a sinister network of agitators unmasking ICE agents, and it's chilling message to America. They found this network, right? It's a network of group of people that are using like Signal Chat and other devices and programs and have created extensive databases of license plate and pictures of cars that allegedly belong to ICE, and I'm assuming they're going to try to then start getting pictures of ICE agents' faces, right, next, if they don't already done it. Patel says FBI's found groups funding the protests in Minneapolis. It's not happening organically. Yeah, we've known that for years. So is Antifa's not organic. The revelation comes as the FBI probes protesters who broke into federal vehicles earlier this month while agents were responding to an assault on an ICE agent who was allegedly ambushed and beaten by 3 illegal aliens. Yeah, I mean, somebody broke into a vehicle and stole a long rifle. Alex Preddy was known to the feds and had his rib broken in anti-ICE protests a week before he was killed by Border Patrol. So this guy was known to them. He had come out before. They knew who he was. 10 people have been found dead in New York since the start of Arctic winds. It's very cold here. You can't stay outside, like I said. You can't do a tent here in New York like they're doing out in Cali or maybe Arizona or Texas. You can't do it. Not here. You'll freaking die. It's that simple. Unless you got one of those heated tents, or unless you got one of those sleeping bags that's good for 0 degrees, maybe you'll make it, but probably not. Right? There's some people think they could just sleep out here rough and make it. You're not going to make it. And more people are going to die. Usually people go in the subways now if you're homeless. If they have nowhere else to go, they go into the bus station depot. 42nd, somewhere. But you can't do it outside too long, not in this weather. Got the blues. New York and California will lose a combined 6 House seats after 2030. Census figures and analysis shows. There's the power shift right there. But weren't we supposed to become a constitutional republic again? We never got back to that, did we? No, never. Nobody even talked about it. Did you ever hear Trump even say that? No. Did you ever hear Trump even talk about your strawman account, your strawman name? Nasara, Jasara, none of that shit. None of it. Talk about a new banking system, quantum banking. Did Trump ever mention that there's going to be a quantum banking system? No. He never mentioned those words that I can hear. Mondani tells cringe joke about the New York City snowstorm, yucks it up in surprise appearance on The Tonight Show. So they're just trying to sell this guy. He's a useful idiot, is what I wrote. Right? He's the smiley face of Muslim socialism. That's what he is. That's the reality of it. He's a Muslim socialist that's running our city because they somehow rigged the vote where only 1 million people voted. Well, they only counted 1 million votes. Nobody ever looked into the New York City's political situation and how the voting system is done here, that only 1 million people voted, or 2 million people voted in a city with 8 million people for an important election. Nobody's been able to figure out why the numbers don't add up. Long Island town unveils Big Brother command center leading some to warn of Orwellian police state. Yeah, this is like Smithtown, though. It's not a very big... Like, why do you have such a sophisticated system for this small Long Island town that's not that big? And you got everybody under a camera, it looks like. Chaos erupts outside Minnesota hotel suspected of housing ICE agents. 26 arrested. You need to get some people in this state that are going to start arresting these people in droves and not letting them out the next day. And finding out where their access to their money is. Finding those networks and getting the people who are financing it. Al Gore's Inconvenient Truth turns 20 years old, and critics say the biggest disaster is its failed predictions 20 years ago. Quote, An Inconvenient Truth received a standing ovation at the Sundance Film Festival, though it was full of predictions that never came to pass. It was a key catalyst of the climate activist movement. Yeah, it was a complete lie. It wasn't that they never came true. He knew it wasn't going to come true. And he capitalized on it and tried to profit from it. And so did a lot of these other people. And they did profit from it. Like I said, I lived by the Hudson River for 50 years. It's never crested its banks, ever. Not even only during the hurricane that hit here. That was the only time. That was a fake event that was pushed by, you know what, Weather Mod. Like I said a long time ago. You got to get the weather mod away from these people, and they never did. Alex Preddy broke his rib in confrontation with federal agents a week before his death. Double confirmation, just the news. Trump admits we will de-escalate in Minnesota after protester killings. It's not de-escalate, it's that the cops aren't doing their job in Minnesota. Usually if there's a protest that's kept back from a facility like this, they wouldn't allow the people to go right up to the area. That only happens in places like Seattle, New York, Minnesota, where the cops are told, let the people come right up to the place and block all the traffic and don't do anything about it. Let them attack an ice facility over and over and don't do anything about it. Top Democrat fundraising boss shared picture honoring her Nazi grandfather on Veterans Day. What are you doing, really? That's funny, because I have all my grandfather's stuff as medals, but he fought on the American side against the Nazis. That's what he got his Purple Heart for. Right? Battle of the Bulge type stuff. Moving around different areas in the Battle of the Bulge and shoring up different areas as our men were shelled in the Ardennes forest by the Nazis. Some of the most horrific stuff you could ever think of. But your grandfather was a Nazi and you're a Democrat now. So that should show you who you're voting for right there. You're living in the freaking Fourth Reich. You just don't realize it. Or the Fifth Reich by now. Right? Because we let all those Nazi scientists come over here to Canada, to the United States, to Russia. We use them to create the chronovisor, the chronoscope, and other time travel tech, I'm assuming, and other stuff. Rocket tech. Whitney Webb mentions Christine Maxwell and Chiliad at the 3-minute, 50-minute mark in this video. Let's watch it for a second. Let's watch Whitney Webb talk about Chiliad, which we've been talking about for years. Talking about Palantir, talking about different things.
It's about predicting stuff before it happens. And that's what I think a lot of people miss about Palantir, because a lot of people say about mass surveillance, well, I have nothing to hide. But it's not about if you're doing something wrong now or not. It's about an algorithm thinking if you will do something wrong in the future.
I think I would definitely be on that algorithm. I think you would be as well.
So guys, I want to let this flow for like a few minutes where she talks about, she's having an interview. Trump will go nuts when he realizes who's in Epstein's story. This is a video of an interview with Whitney Webb that just recently came out, where she's actually putting together some of the pieces that I've also put together and others have put together over the years of the network that exists, that they're trying to cement into place with AI, with Palantir, with Sam Altman, with Peter Thiel, with in some way Musk is also part of it. Gates is part of it. Epstein was part of it too, right? They were trying to put something in place where they were going to control everything, your reproduction, your everything. So I'm going to let this play, and I'm going to go get my coffee. I'll be back in a couple minutes and just listen to this. All right? Thanks, guys.
I would argue that neoconservatives have very successfully rebranded, and I think Peter Thiel is a very important example of that. So Peter Thiel, as an example, Palantir has been in the news, right? He's a co-founder of that. So how was Palantir created? Well, there was this company that was being run, or not company, sorry, it was a government program after 9/11 called Total Information Awareness. It was housed within the Pentagon's DARPA office. And the man they chose to put in charge of that was John Poindexter, who was the highest ranking member of the Reagan administration to be indicted for his role in Iran-Contra, which again, the continuity of government stuff is relevant here. So eventually, it launches and whatever, but people are outraged by it because, as they rightly pointed out, it would eliminate constitutional protections of Americans' rights, specifically the right to privacy, among other things. It was a huge surveillance dragnet, and its goal wasn't just to, surveil everything. It was to predict crime before it happens, predict terror attacks before it happens. I mean, it's like Minority Report. Yeah. Was basically the end goal of it. And so after all the pushback, they changed the name to Terrorist Information Awareness and try and rebrand. Oh, it's not total. We are still gonna surveil innocent Americans, but we're focusing on the terrorists. They did all this stuff to try and rebrand it, but Congress defunded it. But hidden in that bill, Congress allowed aspects of it to continue. And essentially, I argue in my work on Palantir that an effort was made to privatize large aspects of TIA as Palantir. Because when Alex Karp and Peter Thiel were setting it up, they went to John Poindexter through this guy named Richard Pearl, who was a long-standing neocon actor with very extensive ties also to the state of Israel. He was like caught in the 70s giving classified information to Israel's embassy and should have gone to jail and somehow did not. And had a lot of ties also to Netanyahu's first government. And Richard Pearl is the guy that connected Thiel Karp to Poindexter, and they basically wanted to talk to Poindexter because they wanted to recreate total information awareness and saw him as the godfather of modern mass surveillance. In doing so, they basically, Peter Thiel teams up with In-Q-Tel, the CIA's venture capital firm. Alex Karp has said on record that the intended clients of Palantir from the beginning was the CIA. And the CIA was their first client for their first 6 years as a company. Their top developers went to Langley, Virginia, which is CIA headquarters, every 2 weeks to show the CIA their product and have them tweak it to their liking. And during that period of time, one of the top people at the CIA that would have been involved in that is this guy named Alan Wade, who was also intimately involved with total information awareness. And if you look at how total information awareness was described, its privacy protections, it's exactly the same as the way Palantir sold their stuff later on. There's an insane amount of overlap. And what's crazy here is that Alan Wade, a few years prior, had created a Homeland Security software program that was also pre-crime-esque and similar to what Palantir ended up doing. It was called Chiliad, and he teamed up with Christine Maxwell to do that.
I wonder what the Whitney Web file in Palantir is like.
Sure, it's long.
It's got no...
Okay, so boom. Right there is... When I saw that the other day, I said to myself, okay, here we go. We're at the point where now it's going to come out because enough people have put it together. That was Investigative Insights television channel on YouTube. I'll include the link to that also. We might now be at the point where that's going to come out, and it's going to come out either by Ghislaine Maxwell and her trial is going to come out. I can't believe all this time that nobody has put that together in the major news, like even someone from the New York Post. Nobody's been able to put that together in such an eloquent way as she just did. Because this goes all the way back to the inception of the internet, in a sense. Is they wanted to make sure that when they have this thing that they had a backdoor into it from the beginning, and they did. They literally did. Who had the keys to that? I'm assuming it's DARPA, it's these people from Information Awareness, it's the CIA, it's people like that want to control that, right? Bring this country to a halt, Sarsour and the Singham Network. Students vow nationwide anti-ICE shutdown. I think I pulled that article up somewhere. Yeah. Bring this country to a halt, Sarsour and Singham Network students vow nationwide anti-ICE shutdown. No work, no school, no shopping. That's funny. You'll shut the schools down just for that, though, right? But not for a day off. For the no day off for the students. Otherwise, right? Anti-ICE efforts continue to ramp up in Minnesota, and a Chinese Communist Party-linked activist network is seeking to take the shutdown efforts nationwide. So it's China, it's some other group, it's China and some other people that are doing this partially. It's not Soros per se, but he's part of it, right? He's giving money to different groups, but this isn't maybe Soros. It's Chinese, it's China. A lot of it seems like, right? It's China over and over again. But is it really Xi, or is it people that Xi's trying to get rid of doing it? I'm assuming it's the people that Xi's trying to get rid of doing it. But maybe not. These guys have been sending a lot of drugs into our country for a long time. We don't pump fentanyl and cocaine into China, right? No. But if you go back to the opium wars, there were people pumping opium into China for a long last time. Forcing it in, right? Forcing the people in China to become addicted to opium and then being the only ones selling it into China. Who were some of the people that did that? Well, it was Franklin Delano Roosevelt's grandfather was one of them. These people were drug dealers. And then some of those drug dealers' grandkids became the President of the United States of America. So you got to go back and do your history so you can understand what's going on now. Right? If you don't know what the opium wars were, then you wouldn't know that, hey, at one point, some people were doing to China what China's doing to us right now. Literally the same exact shit. Just not buying up their land so much that they were just pumping opium in there. And then being the only ones allowed to sell opium there. Given a special dispensation by the government to do so, in fact. Imagine going to a country and say, not only are we going to pump the drugs into your country, you're going to give us a special license to do it so that none of your people can profit off it, only we will. And all the people that are going to be the addicts are your people. And you'll have to deal with the consequences of it for generations going forward. Chilling text sent by Minneapolis man to neighbor days before he squirted Ilhan Omar with liquid at meeting. So we don't know what liquid that what liquid that was sprayed on Ilhan Omar. It looked like it was cloudy. It didn't appear to be an acid, or else she would have started to scream and burn. So, was it an incident? Was it an incident that was staged to garner her some kind of I don't know, that people would feel sorry for her because she's in the middle of the news right now in a big way, being her husband and her are being allegedly, are being accused of making a lot of money, and people don't seem to know where their money came from. All of a sudden, they're worth a lot of money. Trump calls Ilhan Omar a fraud and suggests she staged the shock syringe attack. During the Minneapolis town hall, she probably had herself sprayed, Trump said. What was in the syringe, I wrote. Ecuador files a protest after ICE tries to ICE tries to enter its consulate in Minneapolis. So ICE apparently tried to enter the Ecuadorian embassy. I'm not sure why they would do that unless they might be hiding illegal Ecuadorian aliens in there. That could be. And you're not allowed to do that, right? So U.S. is hosting a meeting of hemisphere chiefs. I made some notes and then I'll let you go. It's starting to become clear what the plan was. The plan was full control. The plan was really pre-crime too, as part of it, right? They really are trying to make the pre-crime, just like the movie with Tom Cruise, sorry, not Tom Hanks. They really want to make pre-crime like in the Tom Cruise movie. So I have some notes. We already spoke about Project Iceworm and the B-52 crash in Greenland with 4 H-bombs on board. We know that there was the allegation of an Antarctica craft. There was also the allegations of a large bunker in Antarctica that was discovered years ago that was made as if for people who were much taller than humans. So are giants going to come back into this? Were the Anunnaki giants? Maybe. I have February 2026, Peter Thiel, Palantir. These are my notes. Maxwell, Chiliad, 9/11, Internet backdoor. 1989 boat meeting with Trump and Mr. Maxwell and other people, right? Robert Maxwell meeting with Trump on the Lady Ghislaine yacht back in 1989 with Mike Wallace Sr. there and from the news, and people from the United Nations were there at this meeting, and other people who would later be in Bush Sr.'s cabinet. What was going on at that illicit meeting that nobody knows what happened at? So there's a lot of connections, right? There's Epstein, Trump, casinos, Gates, Ehud Barak, Mossad, Les Wexner, CIA, Maxwell Sr., Christine Maxwell, Ghislaine Maxwell, their connection to Epstein, money laundering, different programs, the PROMIS program created by Robert Maxwell and then given out to different different countries, right, that may have had a backdoor to spy in it. AI, Sam Altman, Prince Andrew, royal family connections to Epstein and other, right? That's about what I have. It seems like we have a fuller picture now of what was going on when, in the post 9/11 world, part of what people didn't realize was being created were these massive databases of information that were then going to be ruled over by people like Christine Maxwell, who was a foreign national, who had deep access into the infrastructure of the United States through this company Chiliad that she may have created much earlier and been a bigger part of than we realized, because the initial reports that I had looked up, and remember when we start to look this information up, there's not much information out there about Chiliad. A lot of it's been scrubbed. For that reason, because it now has become obvious that a foreign British national was allowed access, when the Maxwell family was allowed access into very deep into the United States infrastructure, to the point where it may have been compromised. Obviously, it was compromised not only by Israel, by China, but also by people like Ghislaine Maxwell and MI6. Who gave the okay that Ghislaine Maxwell could be the CEO of this company, and who gave the okay for them to have access and create for Chiliad to have access and create this massive database? Who are the people in the United States government who've signed off on such and who did the due diligence on Ghislaine, on Christine Maxwell, and before giving this contract out to Chiliad? Obviously somebody was overlooked the fact that she was a British citizen, that her father was connected possibly to Mossad, allegedly to MI6, and also to the CIA. So there's all kinds of questions here about about different stuff, right? About who these people really were. What were the groups? What were their their actual connections to each other? And why was Christine Maxwell in particular allowed such access into such deep access into the United States files and different groups' files when she was a foreign citizen and not an American citizen at all, and had not been properly vetted? Because if she was, they would have found out that she was connected to Jeffrey Epstein, to Ghislaine Maxwell, her sister, and who her father and his connections were. She should have not been given that position, is my point. So I hope you're doing well, working out, stretching, staying in your center space. Using the I am attribution each day if you want to simply say I am and something positive about yourself. You can speak your reality into existence, right? You don't want to speak about yourself in a negative way. You don't want to say negative things about yourself. You always want to speak about yourself in a positive way, and always love self and forgive self, right? First love self, then love others, right? So I hope you're well, working out, stretching. I hope your ascension process is going forward, as everything is. I hope we can get through this cold snap. I hope they're not going to be able to manufacture another storm on us. Let's hope. Let's try to all think about them not being able to do that, and use our collective consciousness to make that storm go off the coast. So friends, I hope you're well. I don't know how many more of these shows I have. I'm hearing rumors about later this week something might happen. We'll see. I don't foresee it happening, but at some point somebody has to come out and tell us that there's been fake President Trump walking around, and convince us now that there's the real one somewhere. I don't know how they're going to be able to do that. Maybe through DNA or other. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure if the real Trump is still alive, and neither are any of us really. So, have we been just watching a staged event go on that is now coming to an end, and there's going to be some kind of disclosure, not foreclosure, some kind of disclosure, either into alien life, alien craft, people living in inner Earth, some kind of. Because I'm still seeing videos where they're saying, yeah, these people they're being tried in tribunals right now in secret. Well, I don't understand. There's no point in doing a secret tribunal if nobody could see it. That sounds like bullshit to me. These should be public tribunals. We should have had an emergency broadcast system reports by now. And none of these movies have come out. None of these reports have come out. And I don't foresee them coming out under someone like Trump. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm not seeing it. And he seems to be pushing us further into war, into different things. He's making bad decisions. I'm not sure what's going on at this point. Is it that the people, the Black Sun people running Trump are losing control and power? Maybe. Let's hope so, because until that point, I don't see any movement forward. Why are they really so interested in Greenland? Is it a tuning fork? Is it something that's keeping the Earth stable? Because that's what I think a lot of the pyramids are built for. They harness energy, but they also keep an area stable, maybe, too. So we'll have to keep watching and waiting, as we've been watching and reporting and waiting. Unfortunately, we're in a process now that we are stuck. We don't seem to have any movement. We don't know who's running our country. We don't know if the real Trump is alive. There has been no reports of Trump saying, hey, there's a double of me running around. He has blonde hair. He's shorter than me, which I don't understand, right? If somebody was a double of you and impersonating you and doing bad decisions and making bad choices, you would probably come out and say, hey, that's not me. That's somebody else pretending to be me. So obviously a lot of this is staged, it's not real, and it's getting old, right? And people are getting frustrated and pissed off about it. I am. And the people who are trying to sell you this fake thing, like the Wano Sabins and them, they can't sell it to you anymore because they don't know what's going on either. They thought they could predict it. They thought they could tell you what was going to happen and you would make it happen with your collective consciousness, but that's not happening. And what these people thought was going to happen didn't happen. And so now they're sitting there and they keep parroting back the same nonsense. There's going to be an EBS. There's trials going on. There's secret tribunals, and you never see it, right? So nobody believes these people anymore. They're losing their base of people watching them. And as you see Wano Sabin continue to sell you silver coins and profit off this thing, you start to realize that these people never were real in the first place. They were a scam. They were a disinformation agent put out there to make you waste your time and go down rabbit holes that didn't exist and worry about shit that never was going to happen. That's unfortunately what's happened with a lot of these people. And they're scum. I call them scum to their face because that's what they are. Because they don't want to get to the truth of the matter and find out what's going on. They want to disinform you and misinform you and also profit, which is the worst kind of person in my view. Because not only are you lying to me, you're making a profit lying to me. That's why I'm called non-profit news pundit. Because I don't lie to you, and I don't lie, and I don't profit from it. And I don't profit from the truth either. Because you shouldn't profit from either one of those things, in my view. So friends, I hope you're well. This is your friend in New York, Ash, NPNP News, signing off for now.